Episode 137, Madinah Wilson-Anton. Madinah Wilson-Anton is an elected official in the state of Delaware and a comedian. Also, she's a polyglot. At least I would say she is. I guess some people define it differently. We have an in-depth conversation about how she weaved her web and the inside-outside strategy for change, myself being on the outside and her being on the inside. Please welcome to the show, Madinah Wilson-Anton. What's up, everybody? Got some tour dates coming up. May 16th, Los Angeles, California. June 5th, New York City. And then August 6th through 30th, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland. And that is my new stand-up show, Anti-Fascist Pasta Night. Super stoked for y'all to see this. Shout out to everyone who came out to the preview so far. And again, May 16th, Los Angeles. June 5th, New York City. August 6th through 30th. Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland. Tickets and all information at my website, romplacone.com. And by the way, the Edinburgh shows are all free. I'm part of the Free Fest, so you just got to show up at the right time for that one. And, of course, Left at Wall is out now. If you have not watched Left at Wall, please do so. It's on a bunch of platforms. I recommend Tubi because it's free. If you're not sure where you want to watch it, you can just go to my website, romplacone.com, and it lists all the ways you can watch Left at Wall. And if you're having trouble getting it in your country, please email me. We'll figure something out. All right. Enjoy today's episode. Representative Madinah Wilson-Anton, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's it was fun to connect with you at that show, and good to see you again. I like to start at the beginning with these things. So I was on your website. You have always lived in the district you currently serve, correct? Or at least in Delaware nearby, right?
I've always lived in Delaware, and I think the first 2 years of my life I lived in the neighboring district, and then for like 2 years after college I lived in a different neighboring district, but I've always lived in Delaware, and I've always lived in the Newark Bay area, which is suburban, close to the University of Delaware, which is where I went to school. And the district I represent is where I lived the majority of my life, and it's a majority minority suburb. And so, yeah, I'm a Delaware girl through and through.
So what was growing up like for you? Like what were some of your early interests? What were some of the things that framed what you would go on to study in college?
Sure. So I'm one of 6 girls.
Wow.
I have an older half sister who was raised in the Midwest, and then 4 younger sisters. So I was kind of raised as the oldest of 5. And my dad is really into tennis. And when I was a kid, the Williams sisters were, taking the world by storm. And so my dad was like, maybe I could pull off a Richard Williams and have the Wilson sisters of tennis. So we grew up playing tennis, having tennis lessons. My dad would rent like a ball hop thing and like shoot tennis balls at us. And we would do drills and stuff. None of us made it to even collegiate tennis, but that's something that we did as a family growing up was play tennis and, typical go to the park. And my mom brought us to the library a lot. That was one of our frequently visited spots, especially in the summertime. I grew up in a very diverse community, and my parents are both converts to Islam. But most of my friends and classmates growing up were first-generation Americans from Muslim families. And so from a young age, I was exposed to kind of the role of international politics on the individual and the household. I remember going to my friends' houses as a kid, and they would have like BBC on, or they'd have Al Jazeera on, and like different international news programs. And it was kind of through that and that experience that I was exposed to languages, foreign languages and foreign policy. And so by the time I got to college, that's what I wanted to study. I felt like that was the space that I wanted to make a difference in. I got to my undergraduate studies with the intent of becoming a interpreter. So I was admitted into a program, which I don't know if it still exists, but it was a fairly unique program at the time. It called the 3-language major, where you majored in 3 different languages.
Oh.
And so then I started in that program, and like one semester in was like, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work out how I was thinking it would. And so I
I mean,
switched.
how do you keep track of all that? Are
Yeah.
you what's the oh man, I'm drawing a blank. It's as of the recording of this, it's morning on the West Coast, so I'm still kind of but like
Oh yeah,
what's
yeah.
the word for someone who just picks up languages immediately?
The word that's coming to mind for me is polyglot. I don't
Yes,
know if that's
polyglot.
what you're thinking of. Okay.
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. And I know
Yeah,
that's
that
not the
was
actual definition, but you're like really good at
yeah.
languages, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually I haven't used that word in a while, but that I think that was part of my Tumblr handle at one point.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like polyglot something or another. Um, yeah, so I mean, as a kid, like I said, I grew up with a lot of kids who were first generation. So I was like picking up like different words in Urdu. A lot of my friends were Pakistani. And then obviously Arabic through like Islamic studies. I can read and write in Arabic, and I studied Arabic from a young age. Um, English is the only language that I have a native proficiency in, right? And so I'm in class with a bunch of kids who are first gen. Now I'm talking about college, right? And they're like near native in both, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to compete in this.
Oh, wow.
um, but yeah, I mean, I think developed a love for language at a young age because of the environment I was brought up in, and kind of this feeling like if you don't speak another language, you're going to be left out. Like I remember one of my earliest memories. Um, I was at after school party. Like one of my classmates hit some kind of milestone, so their mom threw them a party, and like everyone there was from basically was Pakistani except for me and my sisters and my mom. And at one point, the conversation switched to Urdu, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't like this. I gotta learn Urdu." And like that's just was my experience, right? Like with different groups throughout my upbringing. I never became fluent in Urdu, but like I can get it, I can understand enough that I freak people out, or I'm like, another early memory. I was at my friend's house, and her mom was like kind of scolding her in Urdu, and she was telling her to do something, and she said refrigerator in like this like sentence, right? And like she said refrigerator in English because there's a lot of that in Urdu, right? So she was like something refrigerator head, and I'm like, and I see the refrigerator doors open, so I closed it, and she's like, "You understand Urdu?" And I'm like, "No, I just picked up on the context clues, and you said refrigerator."
Yeah.
So I kind of put it together, but yeah, so I ended up switching to international relations my freshman year, and then was set to graduate in 2016. And something crazy happened in 2016. In the grand scheme of like history, it's probably not the craziest thing that we've seen, but at the time, it was pretty crazy. And I was looking at applying to different like internship programs at the White House, and I was like, I don't think I want to work in the White House. And I got this email about a paid internship in the State House. And I don't know how much you know about like international relations and political science, but at the time there weren't many paid internships. And
Mhm.
so my ears kind of perked up, and I didn't know anything about state politics really, but I crammed for the interview, and I was like, state government is so cool. And this is why I want to, and I got the internship, and it changed my life because I learned very quickly how much of an impact state government has in the individual's life and in the household's life. And I was really inspired by that. And so I applied to do that internship again. My first full-time job was working there. And the rest is kind of history. I haven't really left the State House since then. I had a couple years where I was working at the university, but the majority of the last 10 years, I've been working in the State House now.
So, couple follow-ups on everything. How many languages do you speak?
um, so I speak French, Spanish. I hesitate to say Chinese at this point because I've forgotten so much, but I did study Chinese formally,
Wow.
and then Arabic. And
Okay.
I've like recently started learning Turkish on Duolingo, so I can do introductory stuff in Turkish, and Urdu. And then I got this book, which I'm going to show you. I'm going to get up real quick and show it to you.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
It's right here. It's called Comparative Grammar of Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and French.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was at my
Yeah.
friend's house at a party, and I don't even know how this came up, but she's studying Portuguese. And so she was saying stuff to me in Portuguese, which I was understanding. And then I was like trying to like respond in Portuguese using my French and Spanish. And she was like, "Oh, you're going to like this book." And she went upstairs and brought it down. And I was like, "Yeah, I need this." Because there's so much similar between the languages.
Right.
And as I started it, the author is advertising another book he did, Comparative Grammar of German, Dutch, and Afrikaans.
Oh, wow.
And so
Yeah.
I texted a buddy of mine from college. We took Arabic together, but he was first generation French American. And so he spoke French, and we would like talk in French to each other and stuff. And I texted him and I was like, "Hey, you might like this book." And then I said, "But this is the one I think you really like," because he studied Dutch and German. And at the time, I didn't really understand like how similar the two were. And he's like, "I want both those books."
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of a language nerd. I love learning foreign languages. And part of the reason why I shared my upbringing, right? So like fitting in and feeling like you're left out of different spaces and missing things. But as a politician, as a comedian, being able to meet someone where they're at, being able to relate to someone in their language, even if it's very elementary, I've seen just how impactful it can be. Like there's a couple Turkish mosques in the area, and they'll invite me to events, and I'll go and I'll, have someone with me who's kind of staffing me, and they're like trying to translate and everything. But when I'm able to just say very simply, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you" in Turkish, the interaction changes completely, and people feel seen and they feel really respected. And I love being able to do that. So the more languages that I can do that in, the happier I'd be.
That's awesome. I mean, so my goal is to one day get fluent in Italian before I am dead.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm okay. I'm conversational. Whenever I'm over there, at first I feel like overwhelmed, deer in headlights, but then after a couple hours or a day or two, like I'm using it again, and I feel the muscles strengthening, and I get to the point where I start dreaming in it again and stuff like that. And so I'm hoping that someday I reach that point. But it's interesting you talk about the similarities here in Los Angeles. You hear Spanish a good amount, and I can understand a lot of Spanish. And one time it was the most random thing. It was early in the morning, and like the sun was rising, in this little beach park where I live, and I was going for a walk, and it was a beautiful morning, and this other guy walked by, and he said in Spanish, like, "Oh, what a beautiful sun," and I understood what he said. And I think it was both, like, for both of us, it was just kind of early in the morning, and we were just like going on like, we were just on autopilot, just in general. Yeah. So he just spoke Spanish to me just randomly, and noticed I understood him. And then I responded to him in Italian, just not even thinking about it. I just like responded in Italian, and he understood and then we both just walked away. And I think we both had a moment where I'm like, "Oh, that guy was speaking Spanish," and he was like, "Oh, yeah, that guy was speaking Italian." Like, yeah. But we were able to have, like, we both just totally understood each other.
As a comic, that's one of my favorite things to do too. Like, it's a little, it's not quite a prank, I guess. It's like just a little humorous thing I like to do is speak the language, right, and just act normal, right, and then sometimes what happens is people will respond to you in English. Like, they'll understand you. You go into a restaurant, you hear people speaking Chinese, so you just speak Chinese, right? But they're so used to everyone coming in and speaking English, they're just like, "I understood you," but they're doing what they normally do. But then as they respond to you, they're like, "Wait a minute, what?" And it's so funny. I love it. Like, I remember once I was going into the college. I was at college still, and I was going into the library. And there was a group of students that were speaking Chinese, and they were like ahead of me, I guess, or behind me. I'm not sure. But like, I think I held the door for them or something. Yeah, I think they were behind me. I held the door for them. They were like, thanks. And I just said, you're welcome in Chinese. And they were like, they were like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, yeah, it's cool. I mean, everywhere I go,
I learned how to say, I don't speak Pashto in Pashto. That's a fun one. Learn how to say, I don't speak the language in the language.
Right.
Freaks people out. They're like, what? And they're like, but you just, and I'm like, but I don't. And that's all I know.
Yeah, that's funny. I try to learn like just the most basics whenever I go somewhere. Like thank you, hello, yes, like whatever. Just basic, so I can sort of get by.
We got to bring that back. We have such a. Well, I think Americans have such a bad rap around the world, and it's only gotten worse.
Right.
Plummeting.
Yes.
Like we just got to put a little more effort in. People all over the world speak multiple languages, and we're just rolling into like vacations. Like, what do you mean you don't speak English here?
Right.
Sir, you're in the Netherlands.
Yeah, well, I feel like
you're not in Texas.
Yeah, I feel like it's always kind of been that way, and you have a lot of people who try not to be that way, especially when they're Americans abroad, because they know, the way that we are perceived, and deservedly so. By the way, it's not like we didn't. Yes. It's not like we didn't do anything, but so they try really hard to not be that, and then you have some people that just don't care at all, and they'll just like yell at you in English, and then there's, especially like like I mentioned, Italy. I have family over there. There have been times where I've been there, very touristy place, and you just see Americans, and they're Americans. They're not from Canada. They're not, and they're just yelling at these people in English, and it's like, what is like? This is so embarrassing.
Yeah. I went to still America, right? Puerto Rico for my cousin's wedding, and we were in this restaurant. It was like totally empty. And like I said, I studied Spanish, so like cool. It's also Puerto Rico. People speak English. Like it's not hard to get around without Spanish. But my husband and I were sitting in there, and then at like some point this group of people just like descended on it, and it's like full of people, like white people in their, I'd say probably 60s. And I was like, that was weird. And then I was like, oh, it's a cruise. Because they have like the cruise uniform. They've docked for like 12 hours or whatever. And they're like, they've just descended on the city of San Juan. And they're like, they've got their little backpacks and like their hats so they don't get sunburned. And like, and I just was like, oh, like this is very obviously a cruise is just docked here.
Yep. Yeah. They had the fanny packs in the front that they zip her up. Yep. So, what made you decide to straight up go the electoral route?
So it's funny. When I was working there, so Delaware is a part-time legislature. We meet through the end of June. And because June 30th is our last day, a lot of times it's like very late night. And so I was working full time, and we finished because there was a bunch of like arguments around the budget and like standstills and then negotiations and then whatever. We finished at like 8:30 in the morning. And as a staff person, you're just kind of there. You're not in caucus meetings. You have no idea why you're still there, besides that there's an impasse, right? And so I was really frustrated by that. And I remember saying to, I guess, a coworker or another member at the time, I'm never doing this again. And there was a job opening at the local university. I applied for it. I got it. And so I left working in the legislature and was kind of like, I'm done with that. Like, I would never do that. That job is like, it's a thankless job. People are always mad at you, whatever. And then the guy who I used to work for, who represented my community, was rumored to be retiring. And I was hanging out with some of my old buddies that I used to work with. And they're like, hey, he's going to retire. And Like, you live in the district, you've always lived there, you should think about running. And at the time, there was this norm, I guess, within the Democratic Party that you would wait your turn, that there are people who've, been in the know and been in the mix longer, and it's their turn to run after someone retires, and then you wait until they're tired of it, and then you run. And I had already kind of, when I left that job, decided I didn't care about state politics part of it, right?
Right.
Because like I don't work there anymore. I'm not beholden to any of these people. Like, I don't care what they think about me, whatever. I'm kind of like insulated from having to care. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I will throw my hat in the ring because I don't have anything to lose. Like, I'm not going to be ostracized by the Democratic Party leadership and stuff because I've already decided I don't really care. And there were others who were interested in getting involved, but they were like, I don't want to step on toes and stuff like that. So it really was kind of a perfect storm of it being my hometown, me having just worked there and understanding the inner workings and understanding that it was actually an important role and could have a big impact. But then also kind of having like the right amount of skin in the game, I guess, right? Where I didn't feel afraid to buck the system. And I had a lot of friends that were college students that were like young people who were like, we'll volunteer, we'll help you run your campaign. Cause I was like, I don't know anything about campaigning. I'd never knocked on a door for anyone, before I knocked on a door for myself. So I was really new to it all. But part of what, like, I guess frustrated me enough to want to get involved at a deeper level was when I was working there. I worked for two different members, and one of them, I was talking to him one day after a group of advocates came in, and it was like teachers and parents and the NAACP and the ACLU and all these different people. And they were basically saying the way we fund our public schools is inequitable. And they had done all this research, and they had graphics, and they had, brochures and everything. And I found it to be very convincing. And so I was talking to him afterwards, and I was like, isn't that crazy? Like, like, I met with them, and wow, so interesting and whatever. And he was like, yeah, but we're never going to change it. And he just said it like very flippantly, like, and he basically said like, it's too politically costly for us to make that decision. No one's going to make that decision. And that pissed me off because I saw myself in the students that they were talking about. Like, I remembered, and I've shared this story with people before, like, I remembered being in 7th grade science class, and my teacher at the time, Mr. Snook, he took a transparency and made a copy of a worksheet on a transparency and put it up on the projector and told us all to copy it down and then fill out the worksheet. And we're all like, 11, 12-year-olds. We're like, why are we doing this? This is boring. And complaining. And he said the reason why he chose to do it that way was because the local referendum had failed. And so all the teachers were rationing paper for worksheets. So he was like, I'm not going to waste, 25 sheets of paper on a worksheet. You guys can copy it down. At the time, I didn't understand what any of that meant. Right. But sitting with parents and teachers and all these different advocates explaining how other states don't do referendums, they don't fund their schools that way, and this is how it impacts students. I was like, oh, I was one of those students that spent class time copying, like looking up and writing in before I could actually process the information and do the exercise in science class because legislators chose to do the easy thing and not fix how we fund our schools. And that pissed me off. Like, knowing that there are members who recognize there's a problem and choose not to fix it because they don't want to do the difficult thing or the courageous thing was really what like set me off. And I was like, you know what? We need different people there. That was kind of like a radicalizing moment for me. Because I think before that, I was under the impression that we have policy problems because we haven't figured out solutions for them. And that moment, I kind of realized, no, it's because we don't have the right people in office to take stands to implement solutions that we've already researched and, know are the way to go.
Mm-hmm. So how did you pull off the victory then? Like, was it,
It was quite a motley crew. It was a ragtag team of high school and college students. A lot of volunteers. We ran a grassroots campaign, and like our original goal was to knock on every Democrat's door. I think we said like 3 or 4 times, something like that. And we knocked on a lot of doors. We knocked on like thousands of doors, and then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
And we were one of the first campaigns to be like, we're going to stop knocking on doors because it seems like that's how people are getting sick is like interacting because like, so we had to pivot. We did a lot of phone calls. We did a lot of text messages before text messaging became like completely like just straight aggravating and like super annoying. Because we're talking like early 2020. So it was kind of new tech at the time to be able to upload cell phone data and text people. And it was fairly cheap. So we were like doing that and we were checking in with people and people were telling us, oh, I don't have money for groceries. And so we were like using campaign funds and going grocery shopping and like dropping groceries on the front door for people and like just kind of checking in and trying to like do some mutual aid as a campaign. We did virtual town halls on Facebook. We did like Zoom sessions that we would like live stream to Facebook. I did a lot of podcast interviews. Like we tried to get into the paper. So, I mean, we tried everything. And I mentioned that the guy who I used to work for was rumored to be retiring. Turns out he was not retiring. Mm. So I ran against him. So I ran against my former boss.
Wow.
And he had been in office for 22 years. And then about somewhere in the spring, a third candidate got in the race. So there was 3 of us, and we were able to pull off the victory by 43 votes. And it was so close. Yeah, it was so close that there was like, he was thinking of calling for a recount and then eventually didn't. But yeah, it was a pretty crazy time.
See, I feel like we are, and you kind of mentioned this when you talked about like, learning about what state politics, can do. I feel like, and there's a whole sea of problems I have with the electoral system in the United States, some of which we'll touch upon, some of which we won't. But like, I feel like one of the things is there's this consensus that I think is completely backwards in the US when it comes to like what your voting priority should be, and that they make it out like federal is everything.
Yes.
And like state and local is sort of an afterthought. It's the total opposite as far as like how actual change works.
Yes.
And, like local is by far the most important. State, I would say, is also very, very important, but maybe even a little less so than local as far as like your day-to-day life. And then federal is like, and if you can fix those first 2, there's a chance that third one could start getting a little better. Like that's what I believe. And
I mean, I think it depends on where you live too, right? So like if you live in unincorporated Newcastle County, right? Like where I live. So I don't have a mayor. I don't have like a city council. But then there are folks that do, like in the city of Wilmington, which is about 20 minutes from me. Not Wilmington, Los Angeles. But if you live in Wilmington out here, you have a mayor, you have a city council. The mayor, it's a strong mayor system, right? So the city council can't do that much if it's out of alignment with what the mayor wants to do. Their city charter is so strict that for a lot of the things they want to do, they have to come to the state. And then we have to allow them to amend their charter. So I'd say in Delaware, state government's probably the most important to your day-to-day life, especially because we're a small state. We kind of have taken on a lot of the things that counties in other states take on. Like we have a state police force that does a lot of what a county police force would do. But you're right. I mean, there is this perception that if you get the right person in as president, your life is going to change dramatically. I think the inverse is true, right? If you get the wrong person in, your life is going to change dramatically, and we're seeing that. But one of the things that I remember a coworker actually at like one of those lunch lunchroom conversations when I was working in the state house, he mentioned that a big reason why we saw the shift at the federal level that we did was because state legislatures were abandoned. And I forget which term it was, but during the Obama administration, there was this focus on like federal, federal, federal. And as a party, the Democratic Party didn't invest in state races. And so we lost legislatures. And one of the reasons why that's a problem and why it was brought up as a problem then, that conversation, is legislatures draw maps. And so a lot of these conversations that we're having now around gerrymandering and like district maps that are going to court and like states where we might never win back, congressional seats and things like that, it's because we lost the ability in the state legislatures in those states to draw maps that are fair. So, I mean, I don't know if we're going to be able to it might be 100 years before we're able to roll that back. But yeah, I agree with your general argument that, state and local government is really important. And I wish more people, I think, paid attention, got involved, right? Like there are times where really important bills come up for a vote and there's no one there to speak in opposition, and then people are just like, well, no one had any problems with it. It's like, well, no one's like paying attention to it. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't have a problem if they were informed. And so that's been kind of one of my, I don't want to say pet projects, but one of the things that I wanted to do differently as a legislator and what I campaigned on is actually informing my community members about what I'm up to, what's happening in the legislature, what they should be worried about. Like data centers, that's something that's like a lot of communities across the country are paying attention to.
Yeah.
And those are decisions that are made at the local level, right? Like your county government that has to do with zoning and permitting, like a lot of those decisions are local decisions. The president has nothing to do with whether a data center gets put in your backyard or not.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so like looking at just the Democratic Party as a whole, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you stand for is not shared by the party at large. I mean, it's shared by individuals in that party and it's shared by the voters, but the powers that be, it is not shared. Do you think that the Democratic Party can be pulled in a more progressive direction? And if so, how?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's happening. It hasn't quite happened at the federal level, but like we are seeing more progressive Democrats being elected to Congress. We're seeing more candidates running, like viable candidates running. I would consider myself to be like a working families party Democrat. I just this last weekend was with a bunch of other WFP elected officials from across the country talking about how we can do just that, right? Like how we can pull the party to the left, how we can get more community members involved in party politics. But I think the way to do it is to run unapologetically on the issues that are important to us and our community members. And I think we have seen the Democratic Party try to like virtue signal, at least like that, like that's like the first step, right? Was when they realized that
when they're at least giving you some
Democrat,
lip service. Yeah.
Service. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's like them dipping a little toe in the pool, So like 2016, Medicare for All makes its like debut, right? As an idea, and it's considered crazy. And now it's not, and there are, I mean, plenty of other examples of issues like that. Childcare for all. I mean, the Zoran Mamdani campaign, I think, did a big service to the party in showing that we can be the party of ideas for working class people. And we have an example now. And I hope and pray that he's successful. Because I think if you're able to pull it off in New York City against all odds, that I think helps all progressive Democrats that are trying to message similar policies that like, actually, this is not pie in the sky. This is not, as Hillary Clinton said in her book, ponies. I don't know if that's too niche of a reference, but
No,
like,
not
it's like,
here. I don't know.
it's like, we're not asking for a pony, Um, so I think that's how we do it, and I think message discipline is really important. Right now, what I'm seeing a lot of progressive Democrats do, which I think is effective, is talking about affordability and how we as Democrats can bring prices down for people, can make life affordable. Um, in New York, they're talking about childcare, they're talking about buses, they're talking about groceries. I've already seen in multiple legislatures across the country, progressive Democrats introducing legislation to keep grocery stores from doing dynamic pricing and like surveillance pricing. I don't know if you've seen stuff like that happen, but like, I mean, I see it in my grocery store here where like I see the price when I'm in the aisle. Like I should take pictures, I guess, to make sure that it's the same when I check out. And so I know we're talking about in Delaware introducing similar legislation. But I think it's possible. I'm not going to say I'm like super hopeful, because I think whenever you have two parties, you're not going to have adequate representation for the populace. And so something that I'm actually really interested in is us bringing other types of voting to Delaware. Like we used to have fusion voting. And then we had working families Democrats and working families Republicans elected to the legislature, and immediately they got rid of it. And by they, I mean like the powers that be that were in office in 2008. But I think we should bring that back, because there are a lot of people who aren't involved in the process because they don't believe in either party. And I don't blame them.
Right.
But I think we need to bring back the ability to vote for third party candidates in a way that doesn't disenfranchise folks, because we have close primaries in Delaware. So if you want to be involved, you're going to register with one of the major parties, because that's where your vote is most powerful. And so we've got to be creative in allowing for third parties to join without diluting the party primary process. So I'm like literally learning about different mechanisms now to figure out, okay, how can we open this up without marginalizing voters?
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a lot of excellent points, because like my take on the whole thing, like just very big picture, is that, as far as, true lefty change goes, I do believe we need like an inside outside approach, like outside of the Democratic Party. And, I myself, I'm not a Democrat, but obviously I support people that are trying to push the party to the left, or I wouldn't be doing events for Fatima, so obviously like I support the cause. But I do think it's going to take an inside outside approach. But I don't know if we have the numbers for both, you know what I mean? But we need both. Like, I think if you put all your eggs in one basket, it's just not going to work. So like we need both. And I do, living in a state like California, I do have it's easier to be outside of the Democratic Party just with the way our jungle primaries work and things like that. Whereas in other states, and I get it, like in other states, it's just like, you either have to register as a Democrat or a Republican, or you're going to get your ballot. And the only thing on that ballot is what day do you want the trash to be collected? You know what I mean? There's plenty of states where they pull that, where it's like you basically, I mean, technically you have a choice, but you really don't. So it's like California's not like that. But I mean, those are the rules that need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that I'm interested in. And I think more, I guess, structural changes like that are important. But then it's also important for folks that are on the inside to deliver results, right? Which is why, I think Zoran is really exciting, because he's in a position where he can kind of deliver results for all of us.
I argue he kind of already has. I mean, like as of the recording of this, it has not been that long, and he's already got some receipts. I mean,
yes, for sure.
You love to see it.
Yeah, I guess I'm like, I don't want to say traumatized, because it's not like we've had heroes that have failed. We haven't
sure,
really had anyone win, but I'm like, there's still a lot of time. Things could go wrong. I don't know.
Of course. Yeah.
But
Like,
you're right.
yeah.
He has delivered a lot already. I mean, even just with the snow removal, right? Like,
Right.
I know that's like, for your part of California, that's like a foreign thing, but
Most of us grew up in cold places.
Really?
Yeah, most of us. I mean, most people in California aren't from there. They've escaped cold places.
When I was out there, I did a joke about snow removal, and I thought I explained it well enough. And then after, one of the comics was like, "So, is it like hard to shovel snow?"
I mean, some people are native or they're from.
I was like, well, it depends on the kind of snow, right? Because like, there's different kinds of snow. It's never really fun, but like, you know, like there's like, you could cut your grass with a push mower, or you could cut it while it's like, you know, you could stay on top of it and cut it every week, or you could miss a week and now you're pushing through like really high grass and it's, you know, resistance and all that. But I was like, wow, I got to explain how there's light snow and there's heavy snow. And like, we got hit. So it was like 5 inches of snow or something like that the first day. And then it snowed overnight and it was like an ice storm. So we had a couple inches of ice that were on top of the snow. Now, I and a lot of other people went out the first day and shoveled. So we woke up the next day, we had just the ice for the most part. But a lot of folks didn't do that. And so they were like screwed. They were just stuck.
That's the hardest.
You know?
That's the hardest task because now you got to shovel like the slush and the ice and stuff.
And it's heavy. And it was so cold, Ron. Like, we're used to, I didn't even realize that this was like, you know, a privilege. We're used to, it snows. And then a couple of days later, the temperatures go up above freezing and everything melts, you know?
Yeah.
We didn't get above freezing for like 2 weeks or something like that. So all the snow that was removed, all the ice that was removed was just there. It didn't melt. And so sidewalks were covered. Like schools were closed for so long because there was nowhere for the bus to stop. There was nowhere for kids to safely stand and wait for the bus. Like, it really shut down like our state. And in a way that I don't think it happened in at least 10 years, but maybe more than that. And it was really that combination of so much snow and ice and then the temperature. And Zoran in New York had that. I mean, they had it cleared in record time. Yeah. And it was a jobs program.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
it was really cool. Yeah. But no, I mean, hey,
awesome.
I met my wife here in California. So we are a California duo. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She grew up in Massachusetts. So yeah,
you guys know your snow.
We know shoveling snow. We know. I grew up with, you shovel the snow out. You put a lawn chair up if you want to save your parking space. Yeah, I know how it works.
People were getting into. I mean, it gets violent up here.
It gets territorial. Oh yeah.
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 It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I know.
My roommate's car got stuck at the end of the driveway. Oh, no. It was crazy. We had a crazy time this time. And like, I live speaking of local government, so the most local level of government that I'm aware of is the Homeowners Association.
Yes. Yes.
Tyrannical level of government. And so when my husband and I decided to buy a house, we looked specifically for neighborhoods that did not have HOAs because we did not want to live under the tyranny of the HOA. Well, HOAs are often the ones that organize snow removal.
Oh, okay.
So I now live on a street that does not get plowed, and it's a cul-de-sac. And a lot of my neighbors have like pickup trucks and stuff. So like some of them are able to just like get out no matter what kind of. Then there's others that cannot. And because of the ice, it was like impossible. And so I shoveled, I like cleared out the end of the driveway, but my roommate's car is a low sedan and she got stuck like right at the edge. And so I'm like, she's in it, I'm pushing it. I'm like, now I've shoveled 2 days in a row and I'm pushing a car on like day 3. And I was just like, yeah, my body's given up. So we had to pay a private person to come and like plow part of the road so we could get out.
Wow.
It was quite the ordeal, but
Wow.
material. As a comedian, right? Like in the moment, it's like, oh, this is so inconvenient and annoying.
Yeah, you get
frustrating.
jokes about it later.
So many jokes.
It's I'll tell this brief story and then I want to get into your comedy origin. But I have always said that, because I consider myself an outsider. I don't think I'd make a good elected official, and I like seeing the people that can handle that side of it handle it well, like people like yourself. Like I'm glad y'all are out there, and I try to support the best I can. But I always said the only way I would ever serve in public office is if I got recruited, like if I formally got recruited. And that day came. I got recruited to my HOA. I don't know what they were thinking, but they were like, Ron, we need you. And I'm like, I have no intention of running and I need to get the votes. And they're like, we are going to unanimously just vote you in, sir. And at the meeting, they were all like, Ron, please do this. And I was like, well, I guess the day has come where I got recruited. So I'm on my HOA board now.
It's funny. It's important. I mean, it's an important
You gotta
role.
do it. You gotta do it. It's a thing. Yeah. But
there's some HOAs in the state that in Delaware that have to manage stormwater. Honestly, I don't know if it's appropriate. I'm kind of like,
we don't have.
I'm kind of like,
I
don't know about that. And then we don't have, because we're an unincorporated area, we don't have coordinated trash removal. So every day's trash day in my neighborhood.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we don't.
Which is annoying. That's not good.
Jurisdiction.
Yeah. So
not where I'm at. Yeah.
But so I'm in a really big development. There's a section that is organized right now. Okay. I was just on a labor call earlier, so now my brain is thinking in those terms. But there's a section of the neighborhood that's in an HOA. There's a section that's got a maintenance corporation, and then there's ours, which is just the last vestiges of freedom. But the part that's organized, some of them have all the same trash collector, and they were able to negotiate a lower monthly rate because they were able to I'm looking for, guarantee business for this company, right? So I'm I'm seeing some of the benefits of the collective, but then there are other HOAs that are just fascists, I just your grass is this high and your fence is whatever. Sure. And if I want to have a couch in my front lawn, well, damn it, this is America. And I'm going to have a couch in my front lawn.
Yeah, ours is pretty. I mean, first of all, we're a condo building, so there are no one has a yard, and everyone, it's all just kind of the neighbors. Everybody pretty much gets along around the common space. We have a little community garden, and everyone's just kind of happy that it's there. And if you want to participate, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. So it's pretty chill. You've inspired me, though. I've decided I'm going to appoint myself the dude in charge of snow removal. That's going to be an easy job in a Los Angeles neighborhood. I'm I'm in charge of snow. It's like being in charge of labor for the Trump.
Hey,
really easy job. Really easy
give it 20 years, Ron. I'm sure you'll be called into service in 20 years.
Right, there'll be that moment.
Ron, your moment has come.
This is your only job, and we got a frickin' blizzard. So how'd you get into comedy?
Comedy. So my uncle is a comedian. Okay. My dad's brother. And so growing up, I knew it was a job that I could have that seemed fun. And my uncle was a fun guy. And so that was kind of my introduction to it. And then maybe middle school, high school, I started watching SNL and memorizing commercials that I thought were funny and stuff. And I was like, oh, I think I want to do that. I want to do sketch humor. It was also so I'm 32. That was around the time where it was starting to get easier to make videos. And that was a thing in school where it was oh, you have to do a group project. And we were all making little movies and making funny videos and stuff. And I was like, this is fun. And I jokingly told my mom, as I was getting ready to go to college that I wasn't going to go to college. I was going to just go to New York and try out for SNL. And she was like, no, you're not. And I'm glad I didn't at the time. But as I got into doing political, speeches and stuff, and once you get elected, everyone wants you to come and like, whatever, do the commencement speech, talk to the kids and go to the seniors and all that. And so I'm doing all these
tons of opportunities to workshop some jokes.
Well, I didn't realize it at the time, right? I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm doing this. Like, this is a new job. And like, I'm writing these speeches and I'm like, not super jazzed about them. And as I would be presenting, I would throw jokes in. And when people would laugh, I'd be like, I love that. I really like that. More, please, And so I was like, you know what? Like, I never wanted politics to become my identity. And I had seen that happen to people where like, they go crazy. They lose an election unexpectedly and they're just like, they have like a nervous breakdown. So I was like, I need something else that brings joy to me and that like is challenging and whatever. So I started doing archery. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start doing like comedy. I'm going to take a class. And I'm one of those people who I got to pay money, like I gotta get a gym membership if I'm going to work out. Okay. I'm not going to like walk in my neighborhood, cause I just won't do it. So I was like, all right, I'll sign up for this class. I'll pay the money. So I will have to go. And our first homework for the class was to go to an open mic in our area. And I was like, whoa, I thought this was a class. Why are you making me like, no, but I did. And so I went to a local spot called Bar 13, which is about 20 minutes from me. And, it was terrible.
Yeah,
it wasn't the mic that was terrible so much as it was like my set was not good. Like, new comic. I'm like, oh, 5 minutes. Yeah, sure. I can do 5 minutes. That's easy.
Yeah.
No, like people were not laughing. But when they do laugh at, even if it's just a couple people, you're like, oh, there's something there. Like this. Okay. Like, and that was almost 4 years ago.
Nice.
So I couldn't stop. I got addicted. I got the bug.
What have your, well, I guess I need to make sure I fact check this, but other people told me this about you. What have your interactions with Biden been like? Have you had them?
Yes.
Okay.
My first interaction with Biden was as a toddler in front of Gennardi's.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
According to my mom, I don't remember, but yeah. So my first time I met Biden as an adult was after he left the vice presidency. He came back to Delaware to open like a think tank at the University of Delaware called the Biden Institute. And a bunch of us, I think I was in grad school at the time, a bunch of us students were like, Biden, and this is like Parks and Rec.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Biden, right? Like this is like
he was just goofy vice president.
Yeah, peak popularity, right?
Right.
And like most popular Delawarean probably like ever. And we're like, he's back, and so like I learned how to do my own makeup so that I could like get dressed up for this event. I ended up on like the news and I'm just like, welcome home, Joe, and like whatever. And then so that's like, I was in grad school when he came back. And then the job I mentioned earlier that I got after my first full-time job working at the University of Delaware was working at the Biden Institute. And I was like super jazzed about that because I studied politics and political science and everything. So I was like, this is really cool. I get to work at this think tank and do policy research for former Vice President Biden, who's middle-class Joe, right? That's what we were calling him then. Not genocide Joe. He was middle-class Joe. Right.
Yeah, it was a different era. Yeah.
It was a different time.
No, I understand.
Pre-genocide. And so I was really excited about that job and interacted with him a couple times after that. I think he was still mostly in DC. And this is also like first couple years of the Trump administration. He had left public office thinking like they thought they were handing it over to Hillary. Right. And so like the Democrats were still going to run the country and then it's Trump and it's like getting crazier by the day. And so at the time period that I was interacting with Biden was when he was thinking about running for president. And so the think tank kind of didn't really get off the ground because they didn't want to be in conflict with his political campaign's platform, right? So we really didn't get to do much research, so that was pretty disappointing for me. And then we kind of just pivoted towards more student engagement activities, which are still great and like, inspiring the next generation of leaders and public servants. Cool, amazing, great mission and vision. Not what I studied in school. But like I remember there was a board meeting of the Biden Institute. And so there's like all these policy leaders that were in the Biden administration or the Obama administration, right? So like people who worked on economic policy and healthcare policy and whatever. And my role was to help put together like the briefing documents for them. And so I'm doing that. And our policy director at the time, she's like, Biden wants everybody to read this book before tomorrow. And it was called Dream Hoarders. And it was about how the upper middle class was hoarding wealth from the lower middle class.
Did he read this book?
Yes.
He did?
According to the story, the story I got was Biden read this book. He really likes it. He wants everybody who works for him to read it, and he wants to talk about it in the board meeting, right? And so I'm very excited by this because I already have the book and was like halfway through it, and I'm like, what? He's so woke. He's like paying attention to all this stuff, right? The book was by Richard Reeves, who was at Brookings at the time. Some of the policies were like legacy admissions at universities, 529 plans, right? So like upper income folks being able to put money aside, not getting taxed on it for their kids' college funds, stuff like that, right? So I'm like, this is great. Like he wants to get into like the nitty gritty, and this is not a popular thing to say as a Democrat, right? At the time. To be like legacy admissions bad. So I had started the book as a nerd. I had started it at the beach like the year before. So I finished the book, right? I come into work, I'm talking to my coworkers about it, and they're all complaining about this book and how they don't agree with it. And
really,
just because I got an internship because my mom knows the guy who owns the business doesn't mean that I didn't. I'm not even making this up. Like that's straight up. Like it was like, what?
Well, what did Biden have to say about the book?
Oh, he was ranting and raving about it. He thought it was amazing. And he's like, at one point he was like, these 529 plans, I don't even know anybody who has one of these, right? Because he really sees himself as middle class.
Wow.
And I was really inspired by that. I'm just in the room taking minutes. Like I'm not at the table at all, right? But I'm like,
before he ran for president, right?
Before, yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like clearly none of this,
Well, you'll see why very quickly.
All right.
This is 2018 fall, I believe. Okay. So young Medina, is sitting in the corner like, this is awesome. I'm in the room where it happens, and like this guy's, and I'm going to be able to help the middle class through my research with this guy. We go to dinner after, and it's like a smaller group. And one of his closest advisors is at this dinner, and she's like, I don't know what he's talking about when he says he doesn't know anybody with a 529 plan. I have one of those. His kids probably have them. Like, what is he talking about? And he had also, one of the other issues that he was really fired up about was the opioid crisis, right? Which people don't talk about it anymore because we had a new epidemic happen, right? But like at that time, that was the epidemic that everyone was like, shit, what are we doing about this? And like he has 2 children who've struggled with substance abuse. So like, and like a lot of family members who've like dealt with alcoholism and stuff. So like, it's really important to him. So in this meeting, he's like going off, like he gets really fired up and was like, he was talking about how these dentists that are prescribing these, opioids for a toothache. a toothache. Like, he was fired up, right? Same dinner, same advisor is like, that's the best part about going to the dentist.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting at dinner and I'm like, oh, this is not going to work. This project is not gonna work, because everyone who he trusts in his inner circle around him, they're not middle class. Like, even if he's not technically middle class, these people are like
He's
second
for sure
generation not.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. But like he's like first gen rich, you know?
Okay.
His advisors are all second, third generation rich. They don't have any working understanding of what it is to be middle class. And the fact that they're not in the moment interrupting him and being like, sir, all of it, everyone at the table has a 529 plan. They're just letting him live in this delusion that like, yeah. Like, okay, whatever you say, old man, we're going to continue to do what we're going to do. I was like, oh yeah, this isn't going to be good. Like legacy admissions. Probably everyone at the table was a legacy admission to some Ivy League institution, right? Like, these are not people getting in on merit. Mm-hmm. These are the people the book is about, and they're everyone that are in his inner circle. So I was like, all right, well, this is not this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I remember feeling kind of like it's me and Joe against the rest of the people in here.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I'm just taking the minutes. Like,
okay. I mean, I like Joe Biden as far as I can throw him. Like, I'm not a fan. I never voted for him, but I mean, I didn't vote for Trump, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I did not, I was a Bernie guy. But like, why? I mean, so are you saying like that kind of momentum is like what came with him when he got into office?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And I think, I'm not a Biden fan today, right? Like, sure. I clearly was one then. But I think one thing, so what I learned from that as a politician is what's really important, if you want to deliver your campaign promises, if you want to stay true to the values that you ran on, people in your circle have to align with that. Right. And I think it's probably hard to find people that are qualified to be in those roles that also share those values, because it's really difficult to get a job working for nothing when you have bills to pay, you have family to support, you have debt to pay off. Right. Like, so like the system is set up for kids who have legacy admissions, who can do unpaid internships at their mom's friends, whatever, it's set up for them. And we talked about the party, right? Like, Democratic Party. It's kind of become like a refuge for people who've left the Republican Party. It's not really a party that has its own identity and values other than we're not them. Right. And so there are a lot of people who are Democrats because they believe in gay marriage. Like, that's like, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's great. But like, that's the only thing I have in common with you.
Right. No, I encounter a lot of that too. I was just like, you're a Republican who has a gay friend. Like, that's it. And right, I'm glad you're not homophobic. I'm glad
that's great
that we share that. But this is not a real opposition.
Yeah, and like, especially now we're talking about like economic policy, right? Like, but someone who does get it is going to be hard to find. Like. So I'm not like trying to give him an excuse or anything. I'm just trying to kind of explain what I saw, which is, I think, a guy who understood the struggles of the average person, the average American, and was like really motivated to fix those things, but with a team that does not have the same motivations at all.
Well, and
even the opioid thing, I remember feeling like that was so callous. Right. To know that the person you're talking about has 2 children who've been in and out of rehab, right? Who were upper class. Mm-hmm. So like, they've had probably the most easy, like, go of it for anyone dealing with substance abuse addiction. Right. Yeah. Like, and then to like make a joke about it. And like, I'm a comic, like cool, like push the limits of like what is acceptable to make a joke. I get that. I've done it. Like it doesn't always work. But I just felt like that was such a callous way to like that's what you were thinking when he was talking about like thousands of Americans who are dealing with the opioid crisis, to be like, well, I go to the dentist so I can get free pills. Like
yeah, that sounds.
I was like, oh my God.
Moment.
Like,
yeah.
I was like,
no, I get it.
These are people that are supposed to like fix our country.
Yeah. No, yeah, and that's a very interesting peek under the hood, and I mean, the one thing I'll say, like as far as not giving him a pass, like you mentioned, when you look at his history, I mean, he has clearly shown time and time again he has no problem playing it the company way. I mean, even if maybe his own convictions were different, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I'm not inside his head, but it's like, this is the guy who wrote the crime bill. This is the guy who supported segregated busing. This is the guy who supported Iraq. This is the guy. I mean, he does not have a good track record.
But I think most people don't.
Well, right? A lot of people don't. That's part of the problem. I mean, that's part of the problem.
So it's like, I don't think he's uniquely, like, I don't think he's uniquely bad in that way. Like, every last one of those decisions, he wasn't in the minority. You know what I mean? Like, there's like, you can name like 2 members who were like anti-Iraq war. Mm-hmm. Which I'm not saying that that's like if I was in office at the time, I would have been a third person. I don't know, right? But like, I don't know. I don't think he was uniquely worse. And there's also like some nuance around like the segregation piece, which I'm not gonna do that. I refuse. I refuse to like go on the record about how he wasn't wrong on that. Because it's, I think, too nuanced a conversation. But yeah, it was an interesting time. I definitely had like a very interesting experience working there. It was like my second real job. Mm-hmm. And it was an interesting, like, emotional journey, I would say, because I was still in a very early stage of like political development, right? So like, I was a Bernie supporter, right? And like, I didn't vote for him for Biden in the primary, but I didn't tell anyone at work because I was
really? You jokingly, had to keep that.
Yeah, I was jokingly in the Bernie closet, right? And so like a couple of my coworkers knew. But my boss was like a big Hillary supporter and she hated Bernie. So like whenever she would go on a tear about Bernie, they would all look at me and be like,
yeah, no,
where is this going to go? Right. So like, cause I was, and I, you asked the question about why I decided to run. That was like another milestone moment for me, I guess. Was recognizing that the people that are in elected office are not uniquely qualified or like divinely inspired to lead us, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
When you're a young, at least when I was young and like studying political science and international relations, I was like, oh, like you got to know a lot of stuff. And like, who am I to say that I know enough and have experienced enough to represent thousands of people, and then you get in there as an intern and you're like, these people don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
Like they're just like flying by the seat of their pants. And like some of them were just there because it's like a social event. And, it's where they've built their identity and they're like, it's fun to hang out and it's nice. People like stand up when you walk in the room and grab the door for you and whatever. And like, once you've experienced that, like you don't want to stop, even if you have no ideas to bring to the table, even if you have no energy to put into the work. Right. And so kind of the demystification of that space for me was part of why I felt like I could do this. Like I care, and I care enough to research, to talk to people, to learn about the issues and not just like go off emotion. And so that's something that I really want folks to, that's like the message. If I could give one message to everyone that like hears me on a podcast or like whatever, is you don't have to check all these boxes to be qualified to run for office. If you care about your community and you are willing to put the work in and you want to do it, you should do it. Because it's people that don't, that are doing it,
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree there. I mean, getting back to like the local slash state thing, like to like
Yes.
that is your more. I always tell people, I'm like, look, the real estate developers and the wealth, they figured this out a long time ago. They figured this out that, and I know like some city governments are different than others, but when you have like the typical, like a mayor can do this, a city council can do this, they figured it out a long time ago. Let's get all of our developer friends to sack the city council, because then we get to have
Mm-hmm.
everything we want,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep. Yep.
lefties just haven't figured it
Yeah.
out yet to the same scale, where it's like,
And
no,
there's
this
a
shit really
denial.
matters.
There's this like unhealthy denial a lot of folks on the left are in, where they're like, oh, like we it's a flawed system, blah blah blah. Like,
Sure.
yeah, it is, but like, that corny expression everyone always says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, or whatever.
Right. No, I
Like,
agree.
yeah, that's true. And it's even more true, like you said, at the local level, where you actually can make a difference with
Mhm.
less money, with a less experienced team, less votes, right? Like, you can
Yeah.
swing things, and they're really only able to, you know, control things because of the apathy that exists, and because we're not involved. As soon as we get involved, then they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And they have to get more organized, and it becomes more obvious what they're doing,
Well,
So
that's the
I get
thing.
frustrated by that mentality.
No, I mean, I do too, even though, and I will say, yes, I think the system is rotten to the core. But it's kind of one of those things, like, people always love to use the cliche that they always attribute to Mark Twain, even though Mark Twain never said it. Like, well, if voting made a difference, they would make it illegal. And I'm like, yeah, first of all, Mark Twain never said that. We don't know if that was ever even said, but allegedly Emma Goldman said it. And Emma Goldman actually had a nuanced relationship with voting. She did vote, and she believed that it was just one of the tools in the toolkit for change, and it wasn't the only one. But she still did it, and she still fought for the rights to others to do
Right.
that. So, if you want to say, well, if voting made a difference, well, if voting didn't make any difference, they wouldn't suppress it, would they? So, like, my thing is, like, yes, the system is rotten to the core, but if we do nothing, it will never change. And if you don't even like show up at all, well, you're giving them exactly what they want. They would love it if every local election 2 frickin' people voted and it was 2 developer friends. They would love that.
Right.
They'd
Right.
love nothing more, because it's harder to pull off dirty tricks if that happens. So, I say you still got to show up to try to,
Absolutely.
change the
And
rules.
you're right. Like, the most, people lately, they talk about like the keyboard warriors and the social justice advocates, online social justice. Like, voting is important, but it's like the first thing you can do, and it's like once every however many years, depending on what level we're talking about, right? But there are so many other important ways of getting involved civically, and like, one of the things that I try to do in my role is inform people, like, hey, you're worried about your energy bills and how energy prices are going up? The Public Service Commission is the one that allows our utility companies to raise rates, and they're having a meeting this Wednesday. Show up to that meeting, right? Because I've met with members who say no one comes to our meetings, and so when they ask for a rate increase and no one says no, we're kind of forced to say yes. And so I'm like, what do you mean no one shows up? We'll work on that, and like, there are so many ways. I mean, obviously the system is also set up for people that have the time and the resources to be able to take off work and drive to the Capitol and be there. And so we're trying to do things to make it more accessible, to have it where you can zoom in, to make it right. But we still have to be involved in those ways. And so folks that are like anti-electoral politics, there are still ways you can be involved in the system that are not voting or running for office, but that are showing up to community meetings, showing up to, like, there were folks in the community who showed up to a homeless encampment a couple of weeks ago and put their bodies on the line so that they would not tear people's tents down and take their stuff. Like, that's all really important. And then there are folks in the community who showed up and called up reporters, and reporters showed up. And then that became a news story. And now suddenly the administration has a different posture, right? Because they don't want the light of day to be on what they're doing. So, I mean, there's so many ways to get involved. To anyone who's listening who's like, I'm never voting again because I voted for someone who's sold out like the week after. I get it. I feel your pain. Get involved in other ways. There's like so many ways to get involved. And like, whatever you do, please don't try to spread that ideology to others.
No, I mean,
what really drives me up a wall is when people are like, well, I got burned once. And so I encourage others to never get involved. And I'm like, can you just keep that to yourself?
Well, I just think it's one of those things. And it's like, even though, I mean, yeah, and we're having a nuanced conversation, which is probably going to be illegal in a couple of years. So glad we're doing this now. But yeah, I mean, I really do share that, like because I just, sometimes like people, well, how can you participate in this system when you acknowledge how corrupt and twisted it is? It's like, well, because if we don't show up, we're giving them exactly what they freaking want.
Right.
Like we're giving them exactly what they want. And so, yeah, like I'm fighting for, and I believe in fighting strategically. I am a registered Green. But if I lived in a state where, like what we described, where you're basically completely tethered, I probably wouldn't be. I would be a registered Democrat because I wouldn't really have a choice. So I want to fight for those rules to change. I think that anybody should be able to register with a party that is most aligned with their views, and they shouldn't be, neutered politically because of it. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's undemocratic. And so, like, I want to change those rules. I don't want to. And in the meantime, I'm not going to wag my finger at anybody else. And in the meantime, I'm going to support the people, doing the good things. I don't care what letter is next to their name, because I realize how freaking, bogus and ridiculous the system is, and so anyway, not to get on a soapbox.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Well, where can people go to learn more about you?
I am on almost every social media platform. You can find me at Madinah for Delaware or at Madinah Comedy. I will say I rarely go on Blue Sky because it sucks. But I did try. I tried.
I wish everyone would go there.
Let me know if it gets better.
It's just not enough people are on it. We need more people.
Yeah, I'm still on X. Sometimes I regret that. Sometimes I don't.
Same.
I saw a really funny X tweet, whatever we're calling them now, the other day, and so I'm like, I'm glad I'm still here, but like, it's not as fun without all my friends. But Blue Sky sucks. So yeah, I'm on all the social media stuff. I have my website, MadinahForDelaware.com. And yeah, I will be in a city near you at some point this year. So follow me, and hope to see you at a comedy show.
Madinah, thank you. Thank you for everything you do. It's awesome when people like you are able to get on the inside. We need more well-intentioned, freedom-fighting insiders, and we don't have enough of them.
Oh, we
need them at the state and local level, big time. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So just imagine Uncle Sam, but wearing green and pointing at you through your phone. We need you.
Madinah, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
That was Madinah Wilson-Anton. Check out all of her stuff. Go out to see a show if she's playing near you. Music for the 1000 podcast is provided by Andrew Saxonov. Be sure to check out his podcast, the Baywatching Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Please do leave us a 5-star review. Write a review. Make sure you're subscribed. That helps get the word out. And if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, patreon.com/RonPlacone. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of cool content. We do a Zoom hangout once a month. You get the 1,000 episodes before they're released to the public. You get insider information on upcoming film and events. It's a really cool community. It's all for a Give What You Can level. That's patreon.com/RonPlacone. All right, 137. I feel like conversations like this are important. And Madinah, after we finished recording, she mentioned that she felt like it got a little tense, and she didn't mean it in a bad way. She just meant like, there's a little bit of pepper in that combo. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't take it like she didn't mean it in a bad way, but I didn't really feel like that was the case. I don't know. I don't, maybe I'm just really bad at picking up on those things. Like, I didn't feel like it was tense at all. So I don't know. What do y'all think? Was it? Let me know. I mean, I'm just curious. Like, it's not, I mean, again, I don't think she meant it in a negative way. Like, I think she meant it more in like we're going there. We're talking about these hard hitting things. We're having these hard conversations. It's got to happen. But I don't know. I guess I didn't feel like, hey, I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden. Like I didn't feel, that's a pretty, and she called him Genocide Joe. So it's not like, anyway, I don't know. Just curious what y'all think. All right. 137, closer to another decade with the big 140, turning 140. All right. Catch you next week. Peace.